Hey there, internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of Movie Monday, giving my spoiler-filled impressions of Avengers Infinity War tonight. So be forewarned, if you want spoiler-free stuff, you can check out the video to my spoiler-free impressions in the link in the description below. I also want to shout out my friends over at the Three Best Friends podcast, who invited me on to do a whole episode dedicated to the spoilers for Avengers Infinity War. I will link that in the description as well. I got to do that. Sat down with them, I think Friday night is when we recorded that. And I immediately was like, I'm going to go see Avengers again after recording that. So that was time 2 of seeing it over the weekend. And then time 3 of seeing it over the weekend was yesterday, Sunday. So I have seen the film many a time and have many things to say about it. So kind of jumping right out the gate, again, like I said in my spoiler-free video, I love that this movie manages to successfully, in my opinion, kind of jump off from 5 different endpoints from various movies. You have kind of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which in the timeline takes place like 4 years before this movie, so we see kind of a lot of implied growth between the Guardians together. The first time we all see them together, really, we see kind of how, a perfect example is we see Gamora, who up to this point has been like no-nonsense, kind of straightforward person. She's singing along with Quill in kind of their interaction. Of course, you have Groot, who has grown up to be teenage Groot, that we saw kind of in one of the post-credits scenes of Guardians 2. So you have them. You have Thor Ragnarok, basically picking up right at the end of Thor Ragnarok with Thanos' ship kind of overtaking the Asgardian one. And the movie does a great job of immediately setting up Thanos as this incredible threat, not only in a physical sense by having him take on the Hulk, the strongest character potentially that we've seen in this universe, but also basically eliminating one of the most fan-favorite dominant villains, in that he takes out Loki. And, it is very much kind of implied that, yeah, this is probably for real this time. We've seen Loki die before, but this one seems like it's going to stick. And that, again, just sets up Thanos as an immediate threat in this film. And like continues and prepares us kind of for the rest of the film ahead. This is going to be a darker Avengers. Not everybody's going to make it out of this one alive. Elsewhere, you have kind of the fact that Civil War has happened, and so you've got Tony's team and Cap's team kind of separate and split, means that when Thanos' kind of forces come to Earth, they are able to kind of succeed and kind of pull Doctor Strange and the Time Stone away, or they are able to kind of go after Vision because kind of the split has already happened there. It is very much kind of a subtle implication that, hey, if the Avengers had not broken up in Civil War, if they were all still kind of fighting together on the same team, that maybe things here would have played out differently. So that's you've got that history. You've got, of course, Spider-Man: Homecoming coming off of that, and the relationship between Tony and Peter kind of continues on here with Peter kind of following Tony in his footsteps, and kind of we see the culmination of that arc pay off really in the dusting, as we called it on the Three Best Friends cast, where everybody just starts disintegrating at the end of the film, or the half of the people start disintegrating. We see kind of how much of a toll this is going to take on Tony. The fact that Peter is one of the ones that he loses. He didn't want Peter to be there in the first place. He wanted Peter to go home. He wanted Peter to, protect his neighborhood. But Peter just wanted to be more like Tony. And then what's the last one that we have kind of tying all this in? I guess no, not Ant-Man. Oh, Black Panther. Black Panther is the last one, of course. With a significant chunk of the movie taking place in Wakanda. One of my big fears coming out of Black Panther and having seen kind of a lot of the third act fight stuff taking place in Wakanda. One of my big fears was that a lot of Wakanda was just going to be used as kind of like cannon fodder in this war against Thanos. And unfortunately, I feel like that's still the case, but the fact that Thanos wins and kind of snaps his fingers and turns, half of the universe into dust anyway, you could have put that anywhere, and Wakanda was still going to have a lot of, bodies kind of piling up. The death of Black Panther himself probably got the biggest reaction in the first screening I attended, certainly, and then just kind of watching how audiences reacted became kind of a fun aspect of watching the second and third screenings as well. I love seeing how the pairings happened. Again, kind of seeing audience reaction to a lot of the pairings here was a ton of fun. Thor coming into contact with the Guardians, and all of the Pirate Angel banter that they have back and forth. You have Star-Lord coming to Peter and Tony and Doctor Strange even, kind of all coming to them. Peter Quill and Peter Parker having their kind of little footloose banter was a ton of fun. I missed it the first time and the second time. Like the first time I saw the movie, the credits rolled, and then there's this line in the credits that says, Arrested Development character provided by blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who the hell was in there from Arrested Development? So I looked it up online, saw that it was a Tobias Funke Blue Man Group kind of cameo. And so I looked for it the second time, did not see it. Finally saw it the third time. It is, if you have not seen it and are going back to see Avengers and want to know where that little cameo and that little tease is, the scene immediately after, the cut immediately after Quill, it kind of does the hold motion on the Collector's planet when they're trying to kind of face off the Collector in that scene. As soon as he does that, and you see kind of Drax and Mantis and Gamora kind of just ignore him and move past. The very next shot is a shot of Gamora kind of continuing along, and behind her on her right-hand side, so behind her over here, is Tobias in Blue Man attire. It was a lovely little cameo. I was glad I finally saw it kind of in that viewing. So shout out to the Russo brothers there, kind of honoring their Arrested Development past as they have in the past as well. I was a little surprised we didn't see a character from Community pop up here, or an actor from Community pop up in this one. Maybe they'll be in Avengers 4 next year. But yeah, that was a fun little Easter egg. Elsewhere, one of my favorite jokes of the movie was kind of the callback to Rocket's obsession with getting people's eyes that we saw both in Guardians 1 and Guardians 2. And so we see kind of him pull out an eye here and give that to Thor. Thor just also has a great scene in there with Rocket, right, kind of leading up to that, where you see his rage, bubbling up inside, and him trying to hold it together, after realizing that he's lost everything, because that is the scene that I wanted Thor Ragnarok to have, and it didn't. One of my minor complaints with Thor Ragnarok was that it was so joke heavy that the gravity of everything that has hit Thor, and he's lost all his friends, his planet is dead, everything he loses in that movie, it didn't feel like we ever saw it hit him. And so I feel like we finally get that scene of it hitting him here in this movie, and I loved it. I thought he did a great job kind of delivering on that. And yeah, just kind of when we get to the end kind of game of kind of Thanos wins, he gets everything together. I didn't see the I should have. He had just won the Time Stone. I did not see him like using the Time Stone. I was like, oh, there's no way they're gonna, there's no way with Vision, there's no way they're gonna actually destroy the Mind Stone. He's gonna get to Scarlet Witch or something before and stop it. And then when he got destroyed, I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm curious where we're going from here. And then immediately pulled out the rug from under me. I thought that was a great kind of pacing and script moment. Pacing in general in this movie, I thought did a very good job of really balancing all the stories that we kind of bounce to. It is a lot to manage, and one of the things I almost joke tweeted about, but then I was like, that'll be a huge spoiler, so I'm definitely not going to do that. After seeing it the first time was, the cost of Avengers 2 or Avengers 4 is going to be way less because you're going to have so many fewer actors that you're going to need to bring into it. But of course I didn't want to give that away, but I do like that the idea or the potential of kind of it being a focused story again on the specifically the original Avengers, kind of the core ones that we knew from Avengers 1, kind of seeing how they try and basically remedy things and how they try and set things right in the next movie. I'm definitely intrigued to see how that plays out. The fact that Tony is out there only with Nebula at the end, that almost all the Guardians of the Galaxy are gone. You've got his rocket left at this point. The fact that you do have kind of the core Avengers back home, but you've lost Scarlet Witch, you've lost Bucky and Sam, you've lost Black Panther, like the Doctor Strange, you've lost him, you've lost Vision. Like the death toll surprised me in who it was hitting. I definitely think there was a lot of kind of like in the lead up to this, like the thinking of like, oh, okay, like Cap or Tony, one of them are going to eat it, and then 4 is going to be about like avenging that person or something like that. And the fact that they're both still alive, I appreciate because it sets up that they're going to have to reconcile in 4 to somehow make this right. I appreciate that you had kind of that little nod from Stephen Strange, basically like, of the 14 million ways that he saw this play out and only one worked, you got to imagine the one that it worked. Tony Stark was kind of a crucial element to it, and that's why Strange gives up the Time Stone. So he knows that even with half of the universe being snapped out of existence, somehow, presumably, like that somehow still leads to them winning in the end game. So, the whole movie just has left me looking so forward to where we go from here next year. The little tease at the end with Maria Hill and Nick Fury, I appreciated more so for the fact that it was showing kind of the worldwide ramifications of this event, and like the real cost of people just disappearing and dying. That singular act took out half the people, but that is going to reverberate, and you see a helicopter crash into a building, which took out a handful more of the survivors, undoubtedly. So you're going to see, and I appreciate that, because I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time in Avengers 4 really sitting with that before we dive back into like, okay, we've got to make this right, we've got to fix this. So the fact that we get a glimpse of that here, I think kind of shows the ramifications, shows the stakes of what has happened. And I appreciate that even more than I appreciate the little Captain Marvel tease there that we got at the end. But with now Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel kind of being the next 2 movies that we have kind of lined up before Avengers 4, I'm extra curious to see both how both of those kind of tie into it. I think there's I saw right before I sat down to record, there's going to be a trailer, looks like for Ant-Man and the Wasp tomorrow, that may give hints as to what they're up to during the events of Avengers Infinity War. And my prediction on the Three Best Friends podcast was effectively that we're going to see that's going to be a little bit of a prequel to Infinity War, and then maybe the post-credit scene is going to be like Scott turns into dust and is only and we're only left with the Wasp or something coming out of that film. And then Captain Marvel, we already know, is set back in like the 90s, and so kind of seeing how that brings us and ties into the modern day to set up her appearance in Avengers 4, I'm super excited about. So yeah, it's going to be a long trek till we get to May of next year, but it is one I am excited for. So yeah, those are, I think, my spoiler-filled thoughts on Avengers Infinity War. One last little thing that I talked about in recording with the guys over at Three Best Friends is that I love how Disney has gotten really good at kind of giving us little deceptive teases in their marketing. Like you have the big epic hero shot here at the in the trailers for Infinity War, where you have all the heroes kind of running at the camera, including Hulk, and Hulk does not do that in the movie. He's very much scared after the first fight with Thanos and doesn't really come back. So the fact that they like still showed that he was there anyway kind of subverts your expectations. You think that's going to happen. When it doesn't, you're like, okay. But then Thor comes flying into the scene with Stormbreaker and stuff, and so it was a ton of fun there. And yeah, just a grand old time. I really enjoyed the movie. Really enjoyed kind of how it is a payoff of 18 other movies that have all kind of built up to this moment. And I look forward to kind of seeing where we go from here. It gave me every confidence that the Russos will kind of stick the landing in the next one. This movie combined with their work on Winter Soldier and Captain America Civil War, I think they are doing incredible work. I love that they made every kind of character in this feel like they were still in their own kind of movie series, but also as like a part of this bigger piece. Like everything just kind of blended so well. So those are my spoiler-filled thoughts on Avengers Infinity War. Let me know yours in the comments below, I guess. Yeah, this is a spoiler video. Sure. As I said, you can see kind of probably more of my thoughts in the Three Best Friends podcast, which you can find in the description below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.